Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome, and it's so nice to see so many people here. I just have to correct the announcement just made by the MC. Unfortunately, there is no Green Party of Alberta. We got deregulated because we were taken over by a small group who failed to meet the financial regulations as regards putting in their financial records in time to Alberta, Canada. So unfortunately, the Green Party of Alberta is in abeyance, and obviously, therefore, I'm not the deputy leader of the Green Party. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm very pleased to be here to speak on this outrageous situation involving the Canadian citizen Omar Khadr. The Green Party says, "Bring Omar home now." There are several facts that need to be made clear. You probably are familiar with many of them. The main one, the first one, is that Omar was a child soldier. He had no option but to become involved in the way he did. His family were basically fundamentalists who were willing to fight and die on behalf of the struggle that Al-Qaeda and Taliban is having against the allied forces that are in Pakistan and of course in Afghanistan. And he was a child when when his family went to Pakistan. He had no option but to take part in the training in the Al-Qaeda training camp, and he was involved in the situation that he finds himself in through no choice of his own, and he was a child soldier at the time. When he was captured, he was just 15, and he had if he'd been fighting on our side, he would have been a child hero. He found himself in a Taliban compound that was under attack by the forces, the American forces, and there was a severe firefight going on, and the Americans brought in an airstrike, F-18s I believe, with 500-pound bombs, and flattened the compound and killed almost everybody inside it. And as the smoke cleared, the American forces stormed the compound, shooting anybody who showed any signs of life. And I've seen a video that was shot by an American Special Forces soldier who was in the compound at the time, and it was after the fight and after everything had been cleared, but it showed clearly the state of the compound and the layout of the buildings, and he pointed to where Omar had been cowering in the corner of this alleyway, and as has previously been said, he was largely covered with debris and dust. And this soldier said that the grenade that supposedly, that did apparently kill the sergeant, the medic, who Omar is accused of killing, was probably actually thrown by one of the American Special Forces themselves, because he said as they stormed into the compound, he said there were soldiers outside the compound hurling grenades over the wall in a reckless manner, but you know, war is like that, and there are lots of reckless things. And he said that in his opinion, the grenade that killed the sergeant was probably thrown by an American soldier, and therefore it was friendly fire. And the military detests having casualties caused by friendly fire, and that therefore they had to find somebody to blame it on, and Omar was one of the very few people that survived the air bombardment, and so they pinned it on him. There is no direct evidence that he threw the grenade. The witnesses that were there all said that they didn't actually see Omar throw the grenade. At first they did say they saw him throw the grenade, but this was later, they later recanted their statements. So there is no direct evidence that he threw the grenade that killed the American medic. Another great problem we have with a Canadian being incarcerated in Gitmo, in the Guantanamo prison, is that the prison itself is outside of the law. The reason why these I was going to call them POWs, but they've been reclassified by the American administration so that they as armed combatants. By reclassifying, as you know, they now their incarceration does not have to conform to the Geneva Convention as per the conditions and their rights within incarceration. The very reason this camp is in Guantanamo is so that it is outside the jurisdiction of the continental American law, because the Bush administration knew very well that if they if they had this detention camp on US soil, that the American laws would say it was illegal and would force them to close the prison camp and release, or at least relocate many of the prisoners, and it would also prevent them from using their torture methods on these prisoners to get confessions and that kind of thing. So the Americans know very well that the detention camp in Guatemala is outside of the law, and normally when people are outside of the law, what they're doing is determined by the law to be illegal. And so there's another reason why Omar should be repatriated to Canada as soon as possible, because his incarceration is illegal from start to finish. Canada is alone amongst the developed countries who have had their citizens incarcerated in Gitmore. All the other countries, including the UK, Germany and Australia, to name but 3 of them, have repatriated their citizens. There was an Australian who was a willing combatant fighting for the Taliban, and he was an adult, and he was incarcerated in Guantanamo, and the Australians negotiated for his repatriation, got his repatriation, and he served, I believe, 3 years in Australia, and he is now a free man in Australia again. And that is what should have happened to Omar if the Americans insisted on incarcerating him and putting him on trial. The Canadians should have pressed very, very strongly for his repatriation, and it is just outrageous that a child soldier who was involved in this combat through no choice of his own, a citizen of Canada, born and raised in Canada, should be ignored by the Canadian government. It is absolutely outrageous, and the Green Party is very, very strongly saying that it is time to bring him home now. So basically what the Green Party says is that it is illegal that he was captured and treated as an armed combatant in the first place because he was underage. Guantanamo, the prison in Guantanamo is outside of the law, and so it should not have been allowed to exist in the first place. Canada is the only developed country who has not made any attempt to repatriate its citizen from that camp. And the Green Party says it is time to bring Omar home now. Yes! It is an outrage. It is unjust. It is against the law. And the Green Party says, bring Omar home now. And I want to hear you say it 3 times. Bring Omar home. Now. Bring Omar home now. Bring Omar home now. Thank you.